Hey guys, I'm back with another Monster Squad video, and this is intended for all the new players out there who are just getting into the game. I'm going to show you guys how to start up your first good team for hard mode dungeons in Monster Squad. And for this video, I'm going to be focusing mainly on fire teams, although all the dungeons and monsters I'm going to show you in this video are applicable to water and nature style teams. It's a little bit different for normal based, or dark as I like to call them, teams, because their monster types are a little bit different. So first comes first, we're going to talk about the two main types of team setups. One is a mainly attack-based setup, which is what I've got on the screen right here. We've got a Pharaoh, which goes to a Berserker. We've got a Ruby Hide, which becomes a Ruby Fang, and an Inferno Paw, which actually becomes an Explodion. All those are very offensive and attack-based monsters, and what I like to do is use a defensive leader to protect our attackers in the back line while they're dishing out their damage. So for this, you're obviously going to need a good defender monster. A lot of these types of monsters aren't available early in the game, but luckily Hot Block is actually available for one of the very first dungeons, which is Lake Island right here. You can actually pick him up near the end in Lake number 9. He is the highest drop in here, but he's only a 2-star, so it's a very high percentage chance of getting him. My main goal for all the new players out here is that you want to get a defender style monster as soon as possible and start leveling it up to its highest form. The reason I prefer this is because they have an ability that absorbs damage to the team, not just themselves, but your entire team gets a shield. This is my preferred way of playing, just because in my experience, when you get to the later dungeons and hard modes and hell modes, the attacking leaders don't really hold out long enough for your backup teams to dish out enough damage to actually clear the dungeon. You're going to want a good, strong leader that can defend the rest of your team. The only time I vary my strategies is when I either need a stunner, a buffer, or a debuffer on my team, and I'm going to get more in depth in that in a minute. What I mean by that is when we switch to our number 2 team here, you can see I've actually got a little Chevelle here. What she does is she actually debuffs the enemy team, removing all the buffs they have and any shields they might have. She also increases our leader's MP recovery. This is very important because we want to have this shield up 100% of the time. Whenever the enemy is going to be attacking, we want to make sure that our guys aren't going to get hit. So the MP recovery makes sure that we can keep this shield up at all times, protecting our attackers. This is a more defensive style team because we're giving up one of our attackers for this supportive monster. The other two are still going to be attackers, but we can still vary their strategies up even further to ensure success. This does prolong most battles in the game, but it increases your chance of success because more monsters are supporting each other rather than focusing on pure damage. The last strategy we're going to be looking at for brand new players is getting a healer on the team instead of having this Chevelle debuffer. By healer, I mean anybody that has a support ability right here that some way heals the team you have. So for this case, this actually increases our attack by 30% and heals our entire team by 175%. This monster here, Kunga, is actually one of the monsters you can pick up really early in the game with your free rare box you get. From my experience, restarting this game a few times, you're guaranteed the support monster of a random type. So you're either going to get a nature one, water one, normal one, or fire one. I've personally gotten the normal type monster 2 times, and then I've also gotten the fire type monster once. So it's really nice to keep that in mind. That's another way you can change up the type of team you're going to be building. Although I'm focusing on fire here, like I said, the strategy is applicable to any of the types. If you do end up getting the healer type monster for, say, a nature team, then you can very well use this guide to build a team for your nature. All the dungeons I'm going to show you drop monsters for all 3 different types. Normal teams are a little bit more vague in that sense, and I'll get to that in another video. So now it comes to where you can pick up these monsters. For fire teams in particular, I would suggest picking up the Hot Block first, which the easiest place to do that is in Lake Island number 9. Run this dungeon a few times and make sure you can pick up Hot Block. In this dungeon, you can also go ahead and pick up the debuffing type monster, which is going to be this Chivy right here. You can level it up to be a Chevelia, and she does have the debuff ability and the MP recovery I mentioned earlier. Next is probably going to be a little odd to most people, but running the Friendship Dungeon is very nice because the hard mode reward is the Berserker, in its baby form, of course. This little feral turns into the A-class Berserker you see here, and he increases attack by 50% and attacks everybody with 200% damage. He's one of the best early game attackers for a fire team, and I would definitely recommend picking one up. The next option isn't too great to have, but it's nice to have it just in case. It's going to be this little phoenix monster right here, Fenny. Evolves into a Phonotrix, I believe it is. Phonotrix, yes. Increases the critical strike of your team by 25% and deals 180% to all the enemies. Attack stat isn't too high, but it's not so low that we can completely forget about the monster. Nice to have on your team. Then we move on to Moonlight Desert. This guy is going to be where you can get your healer. This little Fimmy evolves into this Fium, which increases the REC of all fire monsters by 70%, including itself, and actually heals your entire team for 150% and cures all the status effects. So if you don't end up getting that special rare monster in the beginning of the game for the fire team you want to build, go ahead, run Moonlight 1 and pick that guy right up. The next option is a little bit odd. I don't fully recommend picking this up, but if you really like poison monsters, you can go ahead and pick this Red Tula up. He does a stage 2 poison on all enemies and also increases fire monsters' attack by 35%. Not too bad, but again, it's not the best thing. I wouldn't really go out of my way to picking him up. The next option actually comes in after you've picked up some good members on your team. You can actually run Boneyard Island and go ahead and pick up this little guy. He is this Pheno, which evolves into the Phenosaurus. This is a 35% attack increase, and he deals 165% damage to the enemies. Not as good as the Phoenix we saw earlier, but if you don't end up picking up the Phoenix or don't really like it for whatever reason, go ahead and pick this little Pheno up. And also, if by now you haven't picked up the Hot Block, you can also run Boneyard 1 and actually pick up an upgraded version of him. A little bit harder to get, but it skips you a leveling phase. Now, if you've been following the guide so far and have or are going to be getting any of these monsters that I've mentioned, you're most likely going to be ready for Dino Gorge and Robo Island by the time you get to them. Dino Gorge is very good because you can actually pick up one of the best fire monsters for your team. You can pick up the Ruby Dragon here. If you pick up Ruby Hide, it increases your critical strike and does an AoE attack. He's one of the best early game AoE attackers to have on your fire team. The overall critical strike increase is one of the best, and he has a very high damage attack, and he's a little bit more damage than the Phoenix. So he's an overall upgrade to the Phoenix, but if you've got the Phoenix, don't really want to bother farming out the Ruby Fang, don't worry about it. It is a little bit harder to get since you require a gold box to get it, so it might take a few more runs, but in the end it is worth it. It is a direct upgrade to the Phoenix. And last but not least, Robo Island. This one is by far the hardest dungeon. It is the last dungeon in the game, so it deserves the right to be the hardest. And you can also get the best monsters in here. To run this dungeon, though, you're going to have to run the Hot Block fully evolved in the leader position, run a healer in the background, and 2 good attacking monsters. If you cycle your abilities well and have those guys fully evolved and fully boosted on your team, this dungeon should not be a problem. At the end of this dungeon, you can actually pick up the best attacking monster for your team, which is this Pico right here. It evolves into a Precor and increases fire monsters' attack by 45% and deals a 330% attack with a stage 3 burn. This is the highest damage dealing single target monster you can pick up from running the normal mode dungeons. It's really nice to get for early game players because the raids that are just out require you to have very high damage monsters for single target to punch through bosses' HPs and shields. This is really nice to pick this particular one up because it has no weaknesses currently with the Mansion of Madness and the Ruin Village raid. It's actually very strong against the Ruin Village raid because all the monsters in there are nature types. So as I mentioned earlier, I prefer to run a defensive style team with some attackers in the background and a healer or a support monster. It's really nice to have. I'm going to quickly show you guys the way I have my team set up to be running the hard and hell mode dungeons. It's a little bit on the higher end just because I've been playing this game for a while now, but it's the same exact setup as before. I've got one leader with a shield, I've got one supporter who can heal, a very strong AoE damage dealing monster, and then I also throw in another supporting monster in there. It makes me a lot slower in the endgame dungeons, but it does guarantee that I'll be able to finish them because they all support each other and they all help cycle each other's abilities. A very good team setup that I've pre-set up here for you is this guy right here. You have a Hot Block as your leader, a Ruby Fang, a Berserker, and an Explodion. This is a very offensive team, and it'll help you clear a lot of the normal mode dungeons and some of the hard mode dungeons very easily. But if you do want to increase your chances to be able to beat the harder and the hell mode dungeons, then you're going to want to switch to a team like this. You can switch out Finosaurus for another monster like Berserker, or even the Phoenix that I mentioned earlier, but it won't be too big of a difference. You would want to maybe switch this guy out for a healer, because we've got this Chevalier here for a debuff. You can even switch out the Chevalier for another supporting monster, maybe with a stun, but you do want to run at least 1 or 2 supporters if you want to be able to do the hard and end game hell mode dungeons. Anything past Dino on hard is going to act near as a hell mode dungeon in the beginning, and the Robo Island hard and hell modes are actually very, very difficult, and you do need very good team synergy to finish them. But like I mentioned, these teams should be able to get you through many of the early game hard mode dungeons and make it a breeze to finish the normal mode dungeon. So if you are a new player, I hope this really helped out. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And of course, if you have any questions or would like a water or nature style guide, please let me know. I'll be making a normal mode guide soon. Thanks for watching, and good luck building your team.